Hi everyone, my name is Cynthia. Let's talk books. Today I'm here to talk about books numbers 56 through 60 of the books I'm reading in 2023. And let's get right to it. Book number 56 is The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. This is a reread for me. This is one of those books that was in my list of books that changed my life, that really had a significant impact on me, because especially those of us who consider ourselves readers and have been readers for a large chunk of our lives, I think there are very few books then that end up being hugely impactful when you read a lot. And this was one of those books for me. I read it first as a teenager for AP or honors psychology in high school. We all had to pick a book to write and do a project on, and I originally had picked Crime and Punishment, but that book is long and I was not going to finish it in time to complete my project and book report, so I switched to The Bell Jar. And this book was transformational for me because it was the first book that introduced me to the issue of mental health and institutionalization. And it was a big impact on me at the time. Now, rereading it did not have the same impact on me. And it's funny because it's the first book that I have reread that's been on that list of books that had a huge impact on me, that I feel did not hit me in the same kind of way that it did when I first read it. And I think it's largely because as the main character in The Bell Jar, and this is really semi autobiographical book, largely autobiographical book. Um, it's in her early 20s, and I think there's something in this book that really speaks to being in that place of being a young woman in a society that is patriarchal, as Sylvia Plath was I believe the book takes place in the 50s, and dealing with the different kinds of expectations in terms of sexual mores there are for women versus men, and kind of being in a city like New York for the first time. In the book, the main character is in New York to do an internship. She wants to become a writer, a poet, and she's encountering men, and kind of the craziness of New York for the first time, and it does not. It has a negative impact on her mental health. She's then institutionalized after she has a breakdown and attempts to commit suicide, and describes the experience of being in the mental hospital as being in a bell jar that has descended on her. I think that a lot of that is really powerful, but was less powerful for me on this reread, in part because I think I have now a bigger understanding of mental health issues, especially my own. And so reading Sylvia Plath's story of this had less of an impact. And I'm no longer in this age group, and so I have a different perspective on it. Though I think this is still a book that I would recommend for people who are in their teens and maybe early 20s as well. So it was not quite as impactful, but it did lead me to immediately want to learn more about Sylvia Plath's own biography. And so I've picked up Red Comet, which is an extremely long biography of Sylvia Plath that I am currently in the middle of. At some point, I hope to finish that book. But even though the Bell Jar did not have the same kind of impact, it did lead me to want to explore more about Sylvia Plath. So there's that. The next book that I read was an ARC that was sent to me with a publisher. This is The Puzzle Master by Danielle Trussoni. This is the book that I did not like. I think I've given it, this is the book that has received the lowest rating. I have given a book in 2023, so I'm 2 stars. I give it 2 stars on Goodreads because I did finish reading it, but I did not find that it would be a book that I would want to shout about and recommend to everyone. It is a book in which you see this young woman entering a house to house sit, and there's something dark happening in the house, and she ends up being institutionalized for committing murder. But after she is arrested, she refuses to speak a word about what happened in the house to anyone. and a whole trial occurs. She's convicted, and she refuses to speak a word to anyone until she finally writes something down, and it says that she will only speak to this one particular puzzle maker. Enter the puzzle maker, who was a jock in high school and had a sports injury that led him, like, changed his whole life, and changed the way he viewed the world. Now he views the world in terms of puzzles and solving them, and he is the only one she will talk to. So he is summoned to the jail to talk to this inmate who has been convicted of murder, and then a whole plot ensues that is very Da Vinci Code. If you liked the Da Vinci Code, you might like this book. Now, I read the Da Vinci Code ages and ages ago. I think I read it in graduate school, and I just needed a break for all my heavy nonfiction reading. And I like the Da Vinci Code fine, but let's be honest, the Da Vinci Code is not a book that asks ton of its reader from the reader, and I think this book falls in the same vein. I think that if you don't mind a ton of plot holes, if you don't mind a ton of weird unexplained things happening, then maybe it's for you. I just don't recommend it. I thought there were just too many plot holes. It, instead of using like the Catholic Church, the book uses a lot of Jewish mysticism. And what was the Jewish mysticism group? Kabbalah, I think it is. It's so preposterous. I almost felt like it verted on anti-Semitism the way some of these things come up, but even without touching on that, I felt like there was just too much. That the book asked too much. That the reader do too much suspending of the real world, and it just did not work for me. Enter at your own risk. The next book that I read was The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. So this is book 1 in the Wheel of Time series. I watched the first season of the TV show, which is on Amazon Prime, I believe, because my sister wanted me to watch it, and so I watched it. And her partner loves the Robert Jordan series, and so I loved the season 1, and so I wanted to read the book. And it's a long high fantasy novel, and I liked it. I got sucked in following the characters on their journey, although I do think it's a little bit frustrating how much this group of people spend apart from one another. So the story begins with a village in this world, a rural village that's really far apart from the rest of the world, in a lot of ways. And there's these trolls who are looking for people born on a certain date, because one of them might be the Dragon Reborn, who is going to play a key part in this epic battle between good and evil. And basically what side the Dragon Reborn is in is going to dictate what happens, which side wins. And so these kids are taken under the wing of this sorceress, essentially, and they're off on an adventure, but they're often, and they're in complete danger the entire time throughout this book. I like the different aspects of like the gender dynamics in this society. I thought those were really interesting. I will continue the series, but this is not a series that I'm planning on like rushing through and like immediately I need to pick up the next one and keep going. No, I'm just going to take my time with it probably. And I don't know if I'll even finish it, but there we go. I've embarked on this journey of reading the Wheel of Time series, and book 1 was good. Next book on my list is Not Another Family Wedding by Jackie Lau. So this is a book, a romance novel. I love Jackie Lau's romance novels, and the big theme in this particular romance is a couple who is child free. right? Our heroine has always known she doesn't want to have children, and she has reasons for it, and we get to hear all of that. And now she's being invited to, she has to go to her younger sister's wedding. She doesn't have a date. She's not even seeing anyone right now, and she's Asian Canadian, and she just knows like it's going to be difficult to spend the whole weekend at this wedding with her large extended family without having brought a date. So she asks one of her good friends, who is the hero of the novel, to please come with her, and he accepts in exchange for helping him babysit his nieces. And the two of them have known each other since college, but it's all been just friendship. It's never been romantic, even though he had a crush on her at the beginning when they first met. So obviously a romance will ensue, but so much of the book is just an exploration of what it means to be child-free for the heroine and for the couple. The dynamics of wanting to be child-free in an Asian Canadian family that is mixed race, and it was really interesting. So if you're looking for romance novels that have that theme of child-free, you should pick this one up. Heat, I would say, is pretty low heat. It is not a Fade to Black story, so there are explicit sex scenes, but it's not erotica. It's not super explicit, and there's not a ton of these sex scenes. They're concentrated about 3/4 of the way through the book, and so most of the book does not include explicit sex scenes. So I think this one is very approachable. However, if you don't want to hear that theme of being child-free over and over again, then maybe it's not for you. I liked the theme, but I do think it was hammered just a tad bit too much, even for me. So this was a 4-star read for me, so it was excellent. I enjoyed it, but there was just a bit too much focus on the child-free element, I thought. But I love Jackie Lau's writing. I love the dynamics. She always brings in for her heroes and heroines. She does a fabulous job. And then lastly, book number 60 of the books I read in 2023 was Dark in Death by J.D. Robb or Nora Roberts. So I am making my way through the In Death series. If you don't know anything about this series, this is a kind of futuristic series that follows a detective in New York that is, in every book, she solves a crime. And so the futuristic kind of fantastical elements are there, but they're very, very light. This is mostly like a thriller type book series. And by the time you get to Dark in Death, I think you're either into the series or you're not. This one was not one of the best books in the series for me, but it was good. I enjoyed it, and these end up being my kind of comfort read. There are, at some point when I finish the series, I'll talk more about my issues with the series, because I do have issues with the series. But again, overall, they become kind of comfort read because I know kind of the arc that the story is going to take. I know I already enjoy the characters. I know I am going to see them interact, that I'm going to more or less enjoy the dynamics of the case. And so, this is one of those that, like, I can't really rate these books anymore, because I've read over 50 of these books in the series, and I'm catching up to where where the series is currently, because Nora Roberts is still publishing books in this series. I think she publishes 2 in the In Death series per year. So she's very prolific, but I'm catching up to where we are in the series now, and I don't know what I'm gonna do when I finally catch up. So those are it. Those are books 56 through 60. The books I read in 2023. If you've read any of these books, let me know what you think. If you enjoyed the Da Vinci Code and think I'm being a bit harsh in my comments on it, I'm happy to hear about it. And it's funny because I think the me that read that book originally and that saw the movie would have listened to me now and be like, what a snob. But it's just how I feel about it now. I think young Cynthia would also probably be appalled at my comments about the bell jar, but you know that younger Cynthia had a lot of had a journey to go on when it comes to mental health, and yeah. Oh, anything you want to say at all about any of these books? If they seem interesting, if you've read any of them, please let me know in the comments section. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.